So let me tell you guys about the moment I realized I built a beautiful prison and how in the next 6 months I'm planning to do quite the prison break, if you will, from that prison. And there I was, 30,000 followers, deep into the barbering niche, right? Posting viral tutorials, talking head guru videos. I was getting pretty decent engagement, had videos blow up for 1.5, 300, 500, 200,000 views on each videos. And everyone around me was saying, man, I love your content. I was getting DMs constantly from barbers. Oh, your videos are so helpful. But yet I felt absolutely trapped. I hate that people preach niche down, right? They preach niche down. And I'm there. I was right there. I'm that person who was preaching niche down, niche down. But we have to understand that there is repercussions to that, right? What happens when you realize the niche was never your passion, but it was just a starting point? Right? Because that's exactly what happened with barbering. I didn't fall in love with barbering because I dreamed of cutting hair forever. I fell in love with building something, with connecting with people, with growing an audience and creating impact. Barbering was always the vehicle and never the destination. But somewhere along the way, I forgot that distinction. And truthfully, guess what? The algorithm rewarded me for staying in my lane, if you will. My followers expected more of the same. Brand partnerships and ambassadors were up the wazoo because they wanted me as the barber guy. I had become a character in my own story instead of the author. And truth be told, I was good at it. Really good, which made me feel like walking away was really insane. But yet here I am. And here's what's the thing that kind of kept me up at night. I could see exactly where this path led. More of the same content, talking to the same audience about the same topics, building a business around something that felt increasingly empty. I was successful by every metric, even financially. I was making really good money last year. Yet internally, I felt like I was slowly suffocating my own potential. So I made a decision that people may call crazy, and that is I am blowing it up. Not literally, but pretty close, right? I'm pivoting my entire personal brand away from barbering and into what might be called uncharted territory, right? Building my personal brand. And I'm talking about stuff that I actually think about: business, personal growth, relationship, building systems, AI, technology, spiritual things like God and Christianity. That's stuff that I genuinely care about instead of just stuff to pay the bills. Now, I wish it wasn't as hard as it was. Because the truth is I'm watching my follower count day by day on Instagram drop daily. Like that 30K is probably going to go down to 29, 28. I'm sure people are confused. I'm sure people are probably annoyed. And I know for a fact that the algorithm is definitely confused and my reach has plummeted overnight. But what is not dropping for me is my energy, my excitement, my sense of possibility is because for the first time in years, I'm not building someone else's version of success. I'm not pretending to be passionate about something just because it pays the bills. I'm not staying small to keep my audience comfortable. I am changing my niche, yes, but really what I'm doing is I'm reclaiming the pen to my story, becoming the author again. I'm building something bigger, bolder, and really, truthfully, just more aligned with who I am, who I actually am, and where I want to go. Will it work? I have no idea. I have a good feeling about it. Am I scared? Absolutely. But am I also more excited for the next 6 months than I've been about anything the past 2 years? Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So here's my, quite frankly, overly ambitious blueprint for turning this career suicide move into a 20,000 a month business by January of 2026. And the main word that I'm using for the latter half of this year is the word systemize. Systemize. And for me, it is really simple in this regards. Is this year isn't about working harder. It's about really working smarter and systemizing everything in my content creation. Every piece of content needs to serve multiple purposes. Every hour invested needs to compound because I still work a 9-to-5 job. You know what I mean? So I want to kind of share my content creation process for a lot of you guys who might be interested in doing the same thing or are just starting and wanting to create. Maybe you can learn from my processes. Please learn from my mistakes for sure. So before diving into really the goals, here's how I structure my weeks. Just a real quick overview is Friday through Sunday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is my creative brain mode, I like to call it, where I brainstorm, create, and batch record my content and batch edit most of my content as well. Monday mornings is really my reset day where typically all I'm doing is scheduling everything for the week. Now, this past weekend was my birthday weekend, so I was pretty busy. So I'm actually recording on a Monday. But after this, I will be just scheduling these out and I'll be complete. Tuesday and Thursday is where I wake up at 5 a.m. every single day, but that's when I do my 5:30 to 6:30 deep work sessions, if you will. And that in the evening time, because again, I'm working my 9 to 5 there. In the evening time is where I do my admin work and my admin duties, which is engaging with my content, doing my studying, trying to learn and investing into other courses, even like just creating other ideas for the week, trying to get a head start on that. All that stuff I save towards the evening. I try to do more of that deep work session towards the morning because that's when I am the most productive and my brain is the most fresh. So not only do I have that as my pretty much day by day schedule, but I am also posting on multiple platforms: Instagram, which I'm rebuilding, YouTube, which I'm planning. And my main thing right now with my short form videos is scaling that to 1,000 followers so I can get that monetized. Newsletters, which is pretty much like that. Those are my scripts. That's where I'm basing this video off of. This is based off of a newsletter. I learned it from Dan Coe, and I'm doing that to create all these other different content. Now, my target output, I guess, like amount of content that I create weekly is 4 to 5 posts daily, first of all, then 52 total pieces of content weekly. That is my goal. That's with Threads, X, all the other platforms that I'm doing, as well as my short form, long form, and my stories on Instagram. So my goal isn't perfection, but it's to really be systematic on my progress and having that compound. I do not expect to be perfect in this format, right? Will I miss a post or miss a week? Undoubtedly so, I will. But I pay that no mind because with these systems that I am systemizing, I will just be getting closer and closer to my goals. So let's talk about those goals. Now that you've learned a little bit about my content creation process and my thought process behind that, there are 3 areas of focus for me. Number 1 is content systems and automation. Again, I am so done with this. Was me like for the past year and a half with this daily scramble. What should I post today? I don't have a video out today. And the reason why I was that, it was number 1, I didn't have systems or automations. I hated what I was posting. So my goal for this latter half of the year, for the last 6 months of the year, is to build a content system that allows me to produce multiple pieces of content weekly within just 3 to 4 hours daily. This is my goal. Number 2, my goal for these content systems and automation is to automate my newsletter sequences and actually have that convert followers into customers. This past month, I made $84 from my Stand store. This month, I'm hoping to get it to 300, and it really starts with buckling down on my newsletter. And then the final part of the goal is to master these AI tools that are popping up almost like daily, it feels like, that will help me 10x my creative output without sacrificing my authenticity. Like my goal, and just to be completely transparent with you, is I use Cortex to help me grab ideas, turn them into newsletters using my voice. And then what I do is I edit that down and try to make it seem as much as me, what doesn't sound like me. Now, I'm only like 2 weeks in, so some of it still feels like really AI-ish, but it's only going to be a matter of reps before I can get a newsletter that sounds just perfectly like me, that I don't have to really edit down. And I cannot wait for that day because it's going to understand my thoughts. It's going to understand my brain, how I speak, my target audience, and it's going to allow me to be really consistent. And I can't wait to get that down so that way I can help you guys do that as well. For me, the reason why content systems and automation matters is because I understand that time is my most valuable asset. The faster I can create quality content, the faster I can scale my content, scale my personal brand, and monetize my personal brand. So it comes down to specific habits, right? For me, is having 2 hours of deep work somewhere in the morning, right? Usually it's 5:30 to 6:30 and then 8 to 9. That's going to be really big for my content creation, ideation, and figuring out what are my newsletters or short form videos that I want to create. Next, another habit I want to build up is to batch a week's worth of content every weekend using these prompts that I was talking about and these templates that I've created, and doing that all within 3 to 4 hours a day. And then my final habit that I want to build up for this year when it comes to content systems and automation is to automate my newsletter sequences and track my conversion rates weekly, which I already have kind of built up, but I want to track my newsletters. I want to track how many leads I'm generating from my stand store. All those things I think are going to be important systems to scale me up to that 20K. Number 2, for my 3 areas of focus is I want to focus on platform growth and monetization. I know I kind of talked about that earlier, but Instagram is in a really weird spot right now. I'm losing followers as I pivot, but I'm also gaining quality engagement on YouTube, on TikTok. I'm starting to get traction on Threads, and that's where I'm really seeing this opportunity because I have a fresh start in those. So my 3 goals for platform growth and monetization, number 1 is my goal is to grow my YouTube to 1,000 subscribers to reach that monetization threshold. Number 2 is to reiterate and launch a better digital product to capitalize on my existing audience that I already have on Instagram and my growing audience on YouTube. And my final goal is to build an email list to 5,000 qualified subscribers, or to 5,000 followers who actually want what I'm planning to create. That is my goal. Right now on leads, I'm at like 50 emails collected, where I don't know, what is that, 1% there? 0.1% there. But to me, the reason why this is a focus and why it matters is followers, as I understand this, followers without revenues is really just a vanity metric. And it almost felt like that for the past 6 months, where my business started to really slow down, my marketing, where I had 30,000 followers and I was generating $200 to $800 a month. Was insane. So followers without revenue is just a vanity metric. I can say, oh, I got 30,000 followers. Who cares if it's not lining my pocket up? You know what I'm saying? So what are the habits that are important for me? Uploading 2 videos weekly, and that is going to first start with uploading and creating 2 newsletters, because that's what my YouTube videos is those repurposed. Number 2, a habit that I want to build up is daily studying my competition and what they're selling and creating, because it's going to help me get really good at understanding the market and what works, and to improve my products as well. The last habit that I want to do for platform growth and monetization that I think is going to help me get to 20K is I want to get to a certain percentage of social media followers to my email list through my my lead magnets. And the goal that I'm aiming for is 10%. Pretty much I want to make my newsletters, not only do they act as my podcast, my YouTubes, but all of those are going to be my big lead magnet that makes someone interested in buying my digital product, or at the very least being sent a freebie by putting their email in, and then down the road I can nurture them into buying a product. So last but not least, final, or the thing that I'm focusing on is improving my income. 20K a month in 6 months means I need to generate approximately 3,300 monthly growth starting now, and then compounding that. Right. So my goals are to launch a digital product that generates 5K monthly somewhere around month 3. Right. So it's July now. I've never been good at my months. So whatever 3 months past that is. Number 2 is to build my newsletter as well as my YouTube and other monetized streams to around 5 to 10K a month, because I'm kind of doing like a half 50-50, where I think that monetizing my YouTube and my social medias is going to get me to 7 to 10K, and the rest is going to be coming from my digital products, my low ticket offers that I'm selling. So my final goal is to create systems that generate revenue while I sleep. Standstore already does a phenomenal job with that, but I want to be able to reach into a specific market, be able to run ads that convert really well. All of those things are things I want to do that's going to help me scale my business to that 20K, but it all starts with launching a digital product first, right? But those are my goals to improving my income. And again, the reason why this matters to me is financial freedom means creative freedom. The faster I hit 20K a month, the faster I can help retire my wife from her 9 to 5, one step closer to living the life of our dreams. If you guys know this, maybe you guys don't, but by the end of 2026, next year, I want us to be in San Diego. That is our dream. That's our vision. That's our dream city that we want to live in. So it starts with having these goals and understanding why they matter. And then let's talk about the habits for the income, right? I want to build up a habit of tracking my revenue metrics weekly, which again, I'm doing through Notion, and adjusting my strategies based on what is working. I'm running a one-person business. I'm a solo entrepreneur, if you will. And that is going to be crucial for me to understand those numbers and to use AI to help me with that brain process. The second habit I want to do is I want to get in the habit of reinvesting 20% of that revenue into tools and courses that help accelerate my growth even more. I've already done a pretty good job of doing that this past month. I've invested in Dan Koh's challenge. I've invested in Mino MP4's A Day in the Life course. I've invested in Ken Jandra's school course that helps you with content creation as well. And I'm looking forward to more. If you have any that you think would be a great fit that you love or enjoy, I would love to hear them in the comments below, by the way. All right, the last habit that I want to build up is I want to build up the habit of testing new strategies, monetization strategies, not being afraid to wet my feet, I guess, if you will, on affiliate partnerships, on sponsorships, on product iterations. But the thing that I want to keep is not just testing those out, but only testing them if they aligned with my personal brand and who I am as an individual, because that's kind of what got me in this mess a year and a half ago, was a brand ambassador position came up and I was like, dude, this is a great way to make money, but it was not aligned with who I was. So I want to be able to test new things out and monetization strategies, but have it aligned more with my personal brand. So let's talk about, I guess, before I leave you guys on here, is the daily habits that are going to be required for that. We talked a lot about habits on here, but I want to kind of share with you guys what is my simple, I guess, daily system or rhythm. So that way you guys can get inspiration if you're having to reach your own goals or if you're looking for a place to start. You know what? Can I just say that most people overcomplicate content creation? They overcomplicate their schedule. If you look at my schedule, it's pretty simple. It's pretty easy, right? So here's what my schedule looks at. I wake up at 5 or 5:15, because I'll be honest, I snooze a lot. And I do from 5 to 5:30 a morning routine. Essentially what I do is I walk around my apartment, I look at my content, my schedule, and I think of what is the 3 to 5 things that are signals for me, or 3 to 5 non-negotiables that I need to get done. And everything else, I consider it noise. I get very clear on that. I also help my wife when she's getting ready for work. I try to do all those things from 5 to 5:30. Sometimes I go a little bit longer, but from 5:30 to 6:30 is my first hour. If you remember earlier, I talked about 2 hours of deep work. My first hour of deep work where I'm writing, filming, and creating happens from 5:30 to 6:30. Then from 6:30 to, I would say like 2 p.m. to 2:30, 3 p.m. is my 9 to 5. But in between there, like 8 to 9 o'clock, I have like this hour break usually. And that is where I do my second hour of deep work. Sometimes it's 2 hours I get to do, 8 to 10, if I'm short on my coaching calls that I have from my 9 to 5. Some weeks or some days though, my job doesn't permit me to do that. I'm very full and packed up on there. So what I do though is I try to schedule one in on there. Some days I get 1 hour. Some days I get 2 to 3 hours of deep work in. Some days I have those 2 to 3 hours, but do I do 2 to 3 hours of deep work? Absolutely not. Sometimes I want to take a nap, right? But anyway, just I'll let you guys know it. So I usually get done with work around 2:30, right? 2:30. And then from 3 to 4 p.m., that's what I call my admin work. This is usually the work that doesn't require as much brain power as writing, filming, or creating. And that's usually from 3 to 4 for an hour where I'm scheduling, engaging, or I'm looking and studying. And the last hour that I do, 4 to 5 p.m., is my studying/learning, where I attend a Q&A call, I look at the course material, I watch a YouTube video, I go on a walk or something like that while I'm doing that. So that way I'm constantly learning and getting new ideas throughout that time. That is literally my daily rhythm. That is what I've been sticking to. So I hope that's helpful to you. Last but not least, on the weekends, I batch create, strategy planning, big picture thinking. So I don't create content every day. I create content usually on the weekends, but what I do is I create systems that produce content consistently where it almost feels like I'm creating content every single day to the naked eye, if you will. So most content creators, we tend to dream big, but execute small. We tend to post when we feel inspired. We tend to create when motivation strikes. And then we wonder why we're not growing. That is literally my MO, if you will. But I'm building things differently this time around. Every piece of content serves multiple purposes. I have 2 newsletters a week that become long-form YouTube videos and podcasts. I also have those same exact newsletters becoming 8 to 10 threads or X posts. That newsletter also becomes 2 carousel posts. And then I create and document my journey and post short-form day-in-the-life videos twice a week. That is my simple operations, if you will. And every tool I use helps me multiply my output, right? AI helps me brainstorm and refine my ideas, and sometimes helps me just outright script out my newsletter. Cortex, ChatGPT, Claude, all of those things. My automations like PostBridge, and that's the main one that I use, helps me with scheduling and follow-up. And then I have templates, which I use Notion, that helps ensures consistency without killing my creativity. And I want to kind of leave you with this, guys. Sometimes pivoting feels like starting over, but the truth is it's not. Because I understand that the 30,000 followers taught me how to create. They taught me how to engage, how to build trust. The skill transfers even if my audience might not. Building something new while maintaining something old can be very uncomfortable. Posting to an audience that's slowly shrinking while building on platforms where I'm kind of starting from zero, it requires thick skin. It does. But here's what I know. People who stay on my Instagram are going to be the right people. The new followers that I get on YouTube and other platforms are finding me because of who I am becoming, not for who I was. So for me, 20K a month in 6 months isn't just my revenue goal, but it means I built a complete business transformation, personal transformation. It means that I built consistent systems that work without constraint. I have multiple revenue streams that complement each other. I have an audience that knows me personally, that likes me personally, that trusts me and buys from me. I have a foundation to eventually replace my 9 to 5. And to me, that's what matters. Some weeks are definitely going to be better than others. Some content will flop, some will go viral. The key for me is showing up consistently, tracking what works, and iterating fast. Speed, brick by brick, post by post, system by system. For me, it is time to build. Now, that's all for today, folks. But if you like that, then you may want to see how I create my day in the life videos in full detail. I have the link right there. Feel free to check out that video. Subscribe if you haven't already. Until next time, this is Dexter signing out.